I think if I were to be any creature in Tolkien's realm, I would definitely be a hobbit because I like beer, I like corduroy, and from this point on in my life, the only direction I will be growing is sideways. So, I rest my case. Okay, I am so excited for this week's video. We are going to be making a Hobbit costume, like officially. I've done Hobbit kind of vibes before because, as I've stated, I am a Hobbit. But for this one, I'm really going to try to aim to be more cosplay than I am going just like the Hobbit vibe, if that makes sense. I just have no interest in the feet. So if you are here to see Hobbit feet, that will not be this video. I apologize. Now for this outfit, I'm actually going to use the skirt that I made in my previous video, the one where I made a 18th century style petticoat skirt thingamajigger. I think that skirt style suits this look very well, and I like the color and I like the fabric. So I'm going to use that skirt and I'm going to make stays and I think an apron in this video. Now when I say stays, I use that term very loosely. I think what the hobbits wear are very similar to 18th century stays. However, they're obviously tweaked because it's a fictional fantasy realm. So I am going to use the pattern that I used last year when I made a stays corset thingy, which was this pattern set here. Last time I used this, but now I think I'm going to do this one where it's just a clean line for the straps over the shoulder. I have a specific fabric that I'm thinking of, and I'll show you what that is in a second.
Just gotta find it somewhere.
Ah! Alrighty, so we have this beautiful fabric. I've had this for eternity. I've just never known what to use on because honestly I don't have that much. Actually, I have more than I thought I did, but I still like it for this. So here is my skirt, and then with this fabric. Quite honestly, because it's been years since I've looked at this fabric, I thought that it would not be what I wanted when I finally pulled it out, because you know how sometimes you get an idea just kind of stuck in your head. But surprisingly, this is perfect. I love the two colors together. I think it's fun, but I also think it's very neutral, which is what hobbits do. I also found my old pattern that I did last year for these stays. So what I'm going to do is just use these and the other pattern that has just the one strap rather than the two that come together. And I'm going to kind of combine them to come up with a new pattern. Because that's what we do here, right? So I have the new pieces cut out and then the old pieces that I did last year underneath them. And it's definitely going to be a bit of a challenge because there's a width difference in all of them. And then like this just seems really high because this and this connected and nah. There will definitely be a mock-up process for this, which I don't mind because if you saw the video I did last time when I did this pattern, I used the mock-up as a liner basically. So that fabric doesn't go to waste and I feel like the process of making the mock-up is actually worth it, which is always worth it. I just am impatient. Alrighty, so I have all my pieces cut and now I'm going to just start sewing them together. Also, quick note that I don't actually plan to put any boning into this. I don't think for this project it needs it. I think it's supposed to be a little bit more comfortable, still kind of structural and supportive, but in a little bit more of a relaxed manner. So no boning. I'm also lazy. Definitely part of this decision, but just thought I'd put it out there that I don't want to do it. Okay, cool. First attempt definitely needs a little bit of tweaking. It is very large, so I think first thing I'm going to do is just kind of go back over the seams and just increase the seam allowance, kind of decrease the size. I also noticed that when I pull it tight, this has a bit of some wonkiness here, so this is a seam, where is it? This is a seam here, so I think I can just basically pull that in a bit more. And then I think I need to make it a little bit shorter so it hits my waistline rather than it just kind of like bunching at my waistline. So yeah. Alright, so I realized that white on white is, or cream on white is probably not the best option for you guys to be able to see this, but it is fitting much better. It does come kind of low, but that's okay. I was kind of expecting it to be low. I do need to adjust the straps a little bit more. They're still a little loose, but it doesn't have this pucker here, and it actually like fits me nicely. So I think at this point I can adjust the straps and I can start moving forward with it. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I gotta say at this point in time. I'm also only halfway through my coffee, so just give me a few minutes. All right, I think this is what I'm looking for. Never mind that. That's new. So originally I was going to go for just 2 layers of fabric, but I think I need 3. And I have some old kind of satiny pillowcases that I think would be a good lining. So I think this is going to be the middle fabric, which is fine because it's, you know, covered in markings and there's stitching on the outside, but that's good. I like using every bit of fabric that I can, so I get to start cutting. Yay! Okay, so what I just did is I sewed the outer fabric all together and the lining fabric all together. I also did the lining fabric with the maca fabric, so that is all one unit. Now I'm going to go through and sew both sides inside out, and then I will flip it right side out and do a top stitch. Cool. Oh wow, those are dirty. Okay, hello and good morning. Yeah, I look a little bit like a lion. Rawr. Okay, I picked up a tailoring ham. I should actually open that. I've been meaning to get a tailoring ham for like the last year. And I just kept putting it off. But I needed it for this because I'm trying to press the seams for the bodice. And I was able to get these seams here. Let's see. Doop. So these seams are pressed, but they're just on a straight, flat line. However, these are on a curve, and I just can't get them pressed properly. So I went and purchased a tailoring ham. It was time. Okay, so I have the whole top part of the bodice sewn, except for the straps. I left those unsewn because, you know, those need to attach. So now I just need to sew the bottom of it while leaving a gap in the center so I can turn it right side out. But what I think I'm going to do for the sides, ow. So for the sides, or for the center of the bodice, I want to add another little strip of fabric right where the grommets are going to go so that I can strengthen that even more and you don't get that tugging and pulling that you would usually get without the boning. Yeah. Okay, so here we have the thingamajigger. I think it's going very well so far, but it overlaps significantly in the front, which for something that ties, I don't want. However, I think it's great for buttons, and I think buttons would actually look really good on this. So, buttons it is. I also, I'm pulling it tight because I want it to be tight, more like stays or a corset, something that's more structural. So I think if I wanted it to be loose, then it could be, but it's not meant to be. So I think buttons would be a good choice, and I need to do a top stitch, but for the most part, it's very close to done, so woo, yeah. I'm also thinking that because the bodice is supposed to be tight and it's supposed to tug on the closure, I'm actually going to do a set of hooks and eyes, so some hook and eye tape, and then buttons. So basically I would close it with the hooks and eyes and then secure it with the buttons so that there's not a whole lot of, like, there's not all that stress on the buttons. It splits it between the two, and I think that would be a better option. Okay, so I don't know if you can see, I have top stitching done on 80% of it. I just have to do this armhole. And I've been doing it for probably 30 minutes, and I have to go slowly because the fabric is, it's very thick, so I have to take it slow. And I'm over it. I will say that I'm not very good at like sitting at the machine for long stretches of time. Like I don't mind sitting down and like doing a quick minute-long thing. I like kind of every aspect of sewing, but I will say that like I don't like the individual aspects individually. If that makes any sense. Anyway, I think I'm gonna take a break and make another cup of coffee because I want to avoid doing this. Maybe I'll work on the buttons or something. I don't know. I have finished the bodice, but I don't think it's finished yet. And by that, I mean, there's just one thing I need to tweak, and it's these side seams. For the most part, the bodice fits me really well. It's very comfortable. I'm happy with the buttons, and I'm glad that I put the hooks and eyes in there as well, because now they support each other, and there's not too much strain on either. I'm happy with all of that. But these side seams, I'm not happy with. If I come up close, you can see that they pucker a bit and they kind of make my bust look wider than it is and awkward because they don't fill out these side seams. And I think that's just because they're curved a little too much. So I would like to go back in and redo those, which is really frustrating because I did a top stitch on this, which I think it looks good. I'm happy that I did it, but that means a lot more work to undo. However, what I think I can do with the top stitch is not undo all of it. I should be able to only undo part of the top stitch to access those seams, get them fixed up, and then only do that bit of a top stitch, only redo that bit of a top stitch, which would minimize the work significantly. So let's give it a shot. So thankfully I was able to access those seams without undoing anything else. So now I just have to kind of separate those seams from the rest of the fabric and just take out some of that curve, just straighten it out a bit.
Okay, hello and good morning. As you saw, I finished up the bodice officially and then proceeded to get COVID. Yes. And then I just slept for the past like 3 days. I don't know. I don't really know what day it is. I don't know what day I finished the bodice on. So here we are. It is time to start on the apron because I am restless and want to do something. So if you remember, I had a pillowcase that I used for the bodice lining, and I actually have another one that I think would be perfect for the apron. So what I'm going to do right now is just get my seam ripper and seam rip that so that I have just a solid piece of fabric, and then I'm going to make an apron. Yep. Okay, I've been ironing for like 30 minutes. We have had these pillowcases for probably around 15 to maybe even 20 years. I don't know. But the way the pillowcase was made was basically to create like the edge. It just folded over itself, and then it was folded over itself again to create kind of like a ruffle design. And so when I undid it, those creases were there for 15, 20 years. And it was a process. I ended up just like wetting the whole piece of fabric and then ironing it wet and then doing it again because they were in there. They were in there pretty deep. Yeah. So now we have this giant bit of fabric. When I put it at my waist, it actually goes down to like nearly my ankles. So what I think I'm going to do is actually cut off maybe two 4-inch strips from the top or the bottom or whatever, and use those to create the waistband. And then that will be cut this to length, and that will be great. And then all I have to do from there is just gather it and then put the waistband on and hem it. You know, that. Okay, I just woke up, so bear with me. But I finished the apron. Ta-da! I kind of have to laugh at this because I think it took me like 3 days to finish the bodice, but it took me about a week and a half to finish this. But I was sick, so I don't really have any shame there. It is what it is, and it's done. So, yeah, let's do this. All right, I am all done with my Hobbit outfit. I absolutely love it. There's a car. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. It was simpler than I thought it was going to be, and this was like the most complicated part of it, and it went fairly well, except for that blip where I had to go back in and fix the seams, but for the most part, it was quite a smooth process. Also, you know, the whole COVID thing. It was not great. So now I think I'm going to go in and have a little watch party of Rings of Power. I'm dressed appropriately now, so go ahead and leave a comment below, like this video, or even subscribe. Stay sane, stay safe, and stay healthy, and I will see y'all later.